The air hangs heavy with centuries of stories, doesn't it? For over 2,000 years, we've carried an image of Jesus in our minds, a golden-haired figure draped in white, radiating serenity. But how did that image come to be? It wasn't born from the Gospels alone. It's been molded by empires, shaped by artists, and influenced by beliefs far removed from his time. We often assume that understanding Jesus means uncovering a singular, definitive truth about who he was. Yet, history rarely offers such neat resolutions. Instead, it presents us with fragments, hints, echoes, and interpretations scattered across millennia. It's a puzzle assembled not with certainty, but with careful consideration of what is known and acknowledged. Think for a moment about the Roman Empire, a vast, powerful civilization obsessed with projecting authority. Their art wasn't concerned with realism. It aimed to communicate power, wealth, and divine favor. Images were carefully constructed symbols, conveying messages far beyond their visual representation. Consider the statues of Roman emperors, imposing figures often depicted in idealized forms, radiating strength and wisdom. They weren't meant to be accurate portraits. They were designed to inspire awe and obedience. This aesthetic, this deliberate manipulation of image, was a cornerstone of Roman culture. And Jesus, a humble carpenter from Galilee, would have undoubtedly been subject to these same influences. He wouldn't have been portrayed as an idealized deity immediately upon his death. Instead, early depictions likely mirrored the conventions used for other prominent figures in Judea, men of authority and influence. Imagine the scene: Roman artists tasked with capturing a local leader, a man revered within his community. What visual cues would they employ to convey respect and importance? The posture, the clothing, the expression, all carefully chosen to project an aura of power and dignity. This isn't about dismissing the Gospels. It's about recognizing that artistic and cultural contexts profoundly shaped the early representations of Jesus. They were interpreted through a lens very different from our own, a lens colored by Roman ideals and Jewish traditions. But what does this tell us about how we approach understanding his life and teachings today? Are we simply projecting our modern sensibilities onto a figure who lived in a vastly different world? Or are there deeper truths to be uncovered, independent of the art and symbolism surrounding him? The question of Jesus' appearance isn't just an artistic one. It's rooted in the historical landscape he inhabited. Galilee during the 1st century CE was a vibrant, diverse region, a melting pot of cultures and ethnicities within the Roman Empire. It wasn't a homogeneous land of idealized beauty, as many might imagine. Consider the details: the climate, the diet, the clothing styles prevalent at the time. Jewish men in that era typically wore simple tunics, made from rough wool or linen, often dyed natural colors, browns, grays, and earthy reds. Elaborate hairstyles and ornamentation were uncommon. A practical approach to appearance was far more valued than ostentatious displays of wealth. Now, let's turn our attention to the textual evidence, the Gospels themselves. While they offer glimpses into Jesus' character and ministry, their descriptions of his physical attributes are remarkably sparse. Fair hair and brown eyes appear in certain accounts, yet these details are open to interpretation and may reflect cultural biases rather than precise observations. It's crucial to acknowledge that the language used by the Gospel writers, a blend of Hebrew and Greek, can influence how we perceive those descriptions. The concepts of beauty and attractiveness held different meanings within that cultural context compared to our own. But the Gospels aren't the only source of information. Archaeological discoveries are beginning to shed light on the physical characteristics of people living in Judea during Jesus' lifetime. Roman coins, for example, have yielded fascinating insights. Images of Jewish leaders and merchants depicting their features with surprising accuracy. These coins offer a tangible connection to the past, providing a visual record of the everyday lives of ordinary people. Notice the details: the shape of the nose, the angle of the jawline, the style of clothing. These seemingly small observations can paint a vivid picture of a bygone era. It's tempting to jump to conclusions, to assume that these coins definitively reveal Jesus' appearance. However, it's equally important to recognize the limitations of our evidence. Coins were often commissioned by individuals seeking to project a particular image, sometimes exaggerating their status or portraying themselves in an idealized light. Therefore, interpreting these artifacts requires careful consideration and a healthy dose of skepticism. We must avoid imposing modern notions of beauty onto a figure from a distant past. Instead, we should strive to understand his appearance within the context of his time and place. As a man of Galilee, shaped by the cultural norms and physical realities of his world. The persistent question of Jesus' appearance often devolves into a debate about aesthetics, a fruitless pursuit if we truly seek understanding. Instead, perhaps it's more fruitful to consider why such precise depictions are so persistently sought. It reflects a desire for connection, for recognizing ourselves in the figure of Christ. But history rarely offers simple answers. The search for an accurate image is complicated by the very nature of our evidence: fragmented accounts, artistic interpretations, and centuries of evolving beliefs. We're piecing together a portrait from shards of pottery, whispers across time, and echoes of cultural influences. Consider the enduring appeal of idealized depictions. The golden hair, the serene smile, the flowing robes. These images resonate deeply because they tap into our innate desire for goodness, peace, and divine grace, qualities we associate with Christ. However, these are constructed representations, filtered through centuries of artistic convention and religious dogma. The challenge lies in separating the historical from the symbolic. It's vital to acknowledge that early depictions weren't intended as literal portraits. They were designed to convey a spiritual message, to evoke feelings of reverence, hope, and faith. They communicated what Jesus represented, not necessarily how he looked. Yet, dismissing all visual representations entirely is equally problematic. The images we've inherited, from Byzantine mosaics to Renaissance paintings, have shaped our collective understanding of Jesus for centuries. They are a testament to the enduring power of art to communicate profound truths. Think about the role of storytelling in shaping belief systems throughout history. Myths and legends often feature symbolic figures, heroes and deities, whose appearances reflect their roles and attributes within the narrative. Jesus, as a central figure in one of the world's largest religions, has inevitably become subject to this same process of interpretation. The persistent desire for an accurate physical representation highlights a fundamental human impulse, the need to connect with something larger than ourselves. It's not about recreating a historical likeness. It's about finding resonance, a feeling of recognition and connection that transcends time and culture. Ultimately, the question of Jesus' appearance may be less important than the questions he raises about humanity, about our capacity for love, compassion, and forgiveness. Perhaps focusing on his teachings, his message offers a more enduring path toward understanding. The very notion of definitively knowing anything about Jesus presents an inherent paradox. Our understanding is always mediated through layers of interpretation. Historical accounts colored by theological perspectives, artistic representations shaped by cultural conventions, and personal beliefs that inevitably influence our perceptions. Yet, dismissing these layers as irrelevant would be a profound mistake. They are not obstacles to truth. They are integral components of the story, revealing how our image of Jesus has been constructed over centuries. It's a testament to the enduring power of faith and the human need to find meaning in the face of uncertainty. Consider the dissenting voices throughout history. The skeptics, the philosophers, those who challenged traditional interpretations. Their questions weren't intended to undermine belief. They were driven by a desire for deeper understanding, a yearning to reconcile faith with reason. These debates haven't vanished. They continue to resonate today, fueling ongoing scholarly inquiry and prompting us to question our assumptions. The pursuit of truth isn't about arriving at a final, definitive answer. It's about embracing the complexity of the questions themselves. The temptation to reduce Jesus to a single, easily digestible image, a saintly figure with flowing hair and a benevolent smile, is understandable. But this simplification obscures the profound humanity of the man who walked the streets of Galilee. He was a product of his time, shaped by its social norms, its religious beliefs, and its political realities. Rejecting idealized notions allows us to appreciate Jesus, not as a divine being, but as a complex individual, a teacher, a healer, a revolutionary, whose actions and words challenged the status quo and offered a radical vision of love and compassion. His influence stemmed from his deeds, not merely from his perceived appearance. Ultimately, the most valuable insight we can gain is not about reconstructing his physical features, but about understanding the spirit that animated him, a spirit of empathy, justice, and unwavering faith in the power of human connection. It's this enduring legacy, this call to action, that continues to inspire generations of believers and seekers alike. The quest for a definitive image of Jesus inevitably leads us back to the heart of the matter, the enduring power of his message. It's easy to become fixated on the physical details, lost in a maze of historical speculation and artistic interpretation. But perhaps the most profound truth lies not in how he looked, but in what he said. Consider the core tenets of Jesus' teachings: love, compassion, forgiveness, and justice. These principles transcend time and culture. They resonate with humanity's deepest desires for meaning, connection, and purpose. They offer a framework for ethical living that remains remarkably relevant today. The persistent search for a concrete image can sometimes obscure this fundamental truth, reducing Jesus to a historical figure. Rather than recognizing him as a paradigm of moral leadership, his impact wasn't defined by his appearance. It was shaped by the transformative power of his ideas. It's tempting to conclude that our fascination with Jesus' physical likeness is simply a reflection of our human need for connection, a desire to find ourselves reflected in the stories and images of those who have come before us. We project our own hopes, dreams, and anxieties onto this iconic figure. However, acknowledging this projection doesn't diminish the significance of his life or teachings. Instead, it allows us to engage with them on a deeper level, to recognize that Jesus represents not just a historical event, but an ongoing invitation to live a more compassionate, purposeful life. Ultimately, the value of seeking knowledge about Jesus' appearance diminishes when weighed against the enduring power of his message. The most compelling legacy isn't a portrait, it's a call to embrace empathy, challenge injustice, and strive for a world rooted in love and understanding. Let us not be seduced by the pursuit of a singular image, but rather celebrate the richness and complexity of his story, a story that continues to shape our lives and inspire generations to come. The true reflection of Jesus lies not in what we see, but in how we live. This video has come to an end, but the discovery continues. Check out more content on the channel and subscribe so you don't miss what's next. Thank you for watching.